All aboard! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, football fans, ball ages, I am Beast Mikey. You've now arrived at my train of thought. It's time to talk about the power rankings. One final look at the NFL for 2025. And the way this order is going to shake out will be a mix of what happened last season and where I think these teams sit after all the coaching searches and all the coaching hires have been made and some of the releases have been made in one or two instances. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. We're going to go to Fulton, Kentucky for the Zombie Tier. New York Jets. Worst, not first. Yep, I know I said Raiders. I thought was going to start this at 32, but I couldn't do that considering how the Raiders coaching search actually ended. So I could not do that. So I'm going to do this with the Jets. Yeah, you deserve to be 32. After the miserable season that was last year, after how bad things were when it came to your offensive production and especially your defensive production, where they were basically the worst team in the league. And who would have thought, after all of this, one game decided this pick? It was the Falcons game, where Atlanta, who needed this game badly, ended up losing this game to the Jets. And said loss cost the Falcons a playoff spot. Said win cost the Jets the number 1 overall pick. Who would have thought Nick Folk making that 58-yard kick in the rain, as bad as that was, would be that kind of shocking, devastating, and butterfly effect? Or for that matter, would make the Daniel Carlson 60-yard field goal that he made at the end of the year actually kind of meaningless, considering what happened with the Giants. Anyway, the Jets are pretty miserable, and in a 1 QB draft, according to a lot of people, the Jets can't get that QB. Not great. At least they have plenty of first-round picks, though. Las Vegas. Kubiak, Mendoza, money. They've already got Clinton Kubiak as their head coach. That's been established. They will have Fernando Mendoza in about 3 months, or 2 months, really, once the official pick is made for the NFL draft. But now it's the salary cap spot, which is the other interesting piece here. And to be fair to the Jets are fourth in this realm at $79.3 million as of this recording. The Raiders are second at $91.5 million in cap space left for this year. So a really bad Raider team can be a whole lot less bad soon enough. The real question for me here is simple. What happened to Max Crosby? Do they trade him and get even more draft capital? Do they try to convince him that it's worth him staying so that they can rebuild around him, Gene T. and Bowers and Mendoza? What do you do here? And if you're Clint Kubiak, what's your second draft pick? The first one we know, but what's your second draft pick? What do you do here? Cleveland, brutal coaching search. As rough as it was for a lot of teams in searching for their future head coach or future general managers in some instances, nobody had it worse than Cleveland. The fact that so many coaches that were fired from their previous positions or coordinators that were up and coming, so many of them turned down the Browns job. That's got to tell you something. What also has to tell you something is that the Browns have all 5 of their offensive linemen as free agents going into this offseason. And does Cleveland dare replace any of the 5 of them? I guess it's something I really need to know here. And considering the Browns cap situation is really not that great, it's a little over $3 million, it's not looking promising for them to keep any of those linemen. And as for Todd Monken as the new head coach, that offense was kind of hit and miss in Baltimore. And you don't have anywhere near the personnel in Cleveland that you did in the Charm City. I don't love this for Cleveland, and nor Shador and or Deshaun Watson. Arizona, the Kyler conundrum. Good, you got rid of Jonathan Gannon. Understood, fine, you needed to do that. But now we have another situation on our hands for the Cardinals here, and it's Kyler Murray. Do you dare trade him? Do you dare release him and take on the heavy cap hit? I mean, it's not the first time the Cardinals have had heavyweight cap hits in their history. What do you do for Arizona when it comes to trying to get a quarterback? I mean, they really can't draft one because you're in a similar spot as the Jets. You're in a 1 QB draft and you're nowhere close to getting that 1 QB. What do you do now? How do you figure this out of Arizona? How do you maximize the talent on that offense that, with Jacoby Brissett, actually played fairly well? And this is without James Conner, by the way. What do you do with that defense? Can you do anything to fix it? and obviously get that offensive line right for whoever the QB in 2026 shall be. Washington, 24 or 25? Which year are you? Are you the 24 team where Jaden Daniels and company were able to ride a massive wave of success and get all the way to the NFC Championship, taking down a really good Lions team that was the number 1 seed that year, and where Daniels was spectacular for all the way through, so was Terry McLaurin, and a defense that was aging, but still had enough in the tank to do just enough to get stops and got this offense along? Or are you 2025, where Daniels gets hurt, there's no real cohesion offensively because of his injuries, and the defense aged overnight like milk in the Arizona sun? It was not great. I do like some of the younger defensive guys in that team, like Sandra Still, for example, but yikes, this defense needs to get younger fast, and this defense needs to get some more youth to help keep up with the Eagles and the Cowboys, and maybe even the Giants, who I'll talk about in a little bit. What do you do now if you're Washington? How do you figure this out? You do have money, which is fine, but how do you figure this out? And which year are you? And what happens with Dan Quinn? Does he sink or swim for this season? We'll see. Tennessee, most to spend. And as I've said several times during these power rankings, Tennessee basically does not have a real roster around Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons. I couldn't really judge him because there's nothing here when it comes to the Titans, and the cupboard's incredibly bare. Fortunately for Tennessee, their money kind of reflects this fact that I just mentioned. They're the only team in the NFL with over $100 million to spend. They have $103 million in cap space going into this offseason, which is a real good look for a Titans team that needs to rebuild ASAP and needs for us to see, okay, what is Cam Ward? Is Ward capable with an actual NFL roster to make moves? Or is it just not very good? And can I stop wasting Simmons, please? I mean, he's a spectacular defensive tackle, and he needs to have another real shot at doing something productive in the latter half of the season. I need to see the coaching with Robert Saleh and company do something productive. And I think Robert Saleh will be a good mix, a good force along that defense, because yikes, that defense was not great around aside from Simmons. New York Giants, game structure. I like the horrible hire for them. They needed some competent structure, a competent piece that can lead what could be something promising here. Dart and Scatterbo, all right, they showed some good flashes and promise as rookies. Let's see them healthy in year 2, especially Scatterbo after his ankle got absolutely shattered. That was a horrible injury to look at. Anyway, Malik Neighbors after tearing his ACL, as MetLife's turf claimed another victim. Can he get back to what he was as a rookie, where he was spectacular? What do you do with Wendell Robinson? Do you keep him? Can you afford him? I would like to know the answer to that, because he showed out as a good wide receiver 2, and when Neighbors went down, wide receiver 1 for most of the season. That was a good look. I love the defensive line. Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and Kevon Thibodeau if he stays, and Abdul Carter. I love this defensive line. It's the back 7 and the offensive line to me for the Giants. Both need to be fixed, and both need to be fixed now. There's a lot of talent on both fronts of that, especially in the secondary, high-end talent-wise, and on the offensive line, there's 3 premier tackles. 2 of them are top 10 worthy in the NFL draft, and the Giants have a pick in the top 10. In theory, the Giants are going to address one of these positions, right? We all know Harbaugh likes to be physical when it comes to his teams and likes physical mentality. In theory, that's where the Giants are going to go, with a physical style offensive lineman or somebody in the secondary. That's going to happen inevitably, right? And Miami, better 2019. For those of you who may remember, the 2019 Dolphins were seen as, for the first 2 weeks, maybe the worst team the NFL had ever seen. They got absolutely obliterated by the MVP to be Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in his first coming out party, because he had several of them that year. And the defending champion Patriots in week 2, where in their rare wins against Miami in Miami, they destroyed the Dolphins with Antonio Brown in the one game he actually played as a Patriot. Yes, that's a real thing. Anyway, as the season went along, Brian Flores and company actually got better. And this team was horribly overmatched when it came to talent, since Devontae Parker having a good year and Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mike Gesicki. They were able to actually win 5 games, and 3 of them in December, and 2 of them against division champions. one of which was against the Eagles in maybe one of the most hilarious games of all time, and the other of which being against the Patriots to pay New England back and basically be judges and juries for Tom Brady's time in New England, and then Derrick Henry and company decided to be the executioners in the last great Titans year. Anyway, could this be a better version of that year for the Dolphins as they really started their teardown? First with Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, and presumably coming up next, Minkah Fitzpatrick. We'll see if Minkah gets traded or gets released. I'm expecting June 1st designation if it's the latter, and maybe even if it's the former. But we will see how that goes when it comes to Minkah. And who else could be gone? Could it be Tua? Could it be Austin Jackson? Who else could be going as this new regime of JES and Jeff Hafley are kind of sort of tearing things down before they can build things back up? And this may only be a one-year thing because Miami's going to have a lot of money to play with in 2027. We'll see how much they'll have to play with and how much dead cap Miami will take on before then. Now let's go to Birmingham, Alabama, and the Monkey's Paw team. Indianapolis, prove it year. After that cratering and after that collapse, the Colts needed to be down here because, yikes, that was a brutal, brutal way to end the season. To go from 7-1 and 8-2 to 8-9 and out is absolutely insane. And sure, you got your obligatory loss to Jacksonville and Duval because you always lose that game. But the other losses here were just brutal, and some of them of the painful, can't believe they lost this game variety, and others of which were the, we're just outmatched and outclassed variety. Maybe the game in Seattle was the, you should have won this game and just couldn't hold it variety, with Phillip Rivers making his grand return. And to be honest, this collapse was happening before Rivers took the field and came out of retirement, with Daniel Jones not being able to get it done once we got truly to mid-November, I would say. A brutal way for this to end, and it's kind of a prove year to me for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. I think both are decent at their jobs, but it may be on the board that both may need to have new ones after this year if they can't figure something out immediately. And if you're Indianapolis, what do you do at quarterback? Do you keep Daniel Jones and try to ride out his injuries despite a broken fibula on one leg and a torn Achilles on the other? What do you do with Anthony Richardson? What do you do with the rest of that roster, which is generally good 2 through 53? It's just the number one part of that. How do you manage this? And you don't have the picks to really do anything to get that done. It's going to be tough, Indianapolis. It really is. Cincinnati, spend on defense. I get it, Mike Brown's a cheapskate. I think we've all established that. The Bengals have the 6th most money in the NFL to spend at $53.4 million. I've already talked about the Titans, Raiders, and Jets. There are 3 teams ahead of them. And when it comes to this Bengals team, this offense is fine. I think we're all good with this offense. Chase Brown showed himself to be a pretty good running back, and obviously the quarterback and receiver combinations are awesome when it comes to Burrow, when it comes to Higgins, when it comes to Chase. All 3 of those guys are paid. Trey Hendrickson, will he be paid? I kind of want to know that. It probably won't be by Cincy, and nor should it be, to be honest. I wonder what happens with Cincinnati and rebuilding that defense. Can they do so? How quickly? Because wasting any more of Joe Burrow's time just doesn't seem right. It seems kind of criminal, to be honest. I'd rather not see that. Kansas City, does Kelsey return? Is this a gap year for the Chiefs, as in a full-on gap year for Kansas City? When does Mahomes get back? Does Kelsey come back? I do want to know the answers to these questions. With the Rashee Rice drama, or at least the next installment of the Rashee Rice drama, what happens with him? Do they dare replace him? Can they replace Rashee Rice? There's a lot to consider here when it comes to this Chiefs team. And does Kansas City make it back to the playoffs? How much more time does Andy Reid have left? Plenty of questions for a Chiefs team that you would think still has a window as long as Mahomes is 100%. The problem is he won't be 100% until who knows when, to be honest. Minnesota, 3 through 53. That to me is where I am when it comes to this Vikings squad. I like the receivers a lot. They're a really good trio of receivers. Hawkinson's good. The offensive line could use some help. It certainly could, after they had a bunch of injuries and they give up a bunch of sacks like this past year. So that obviously needs to be retooled to some degree around, and maybe including Christian Darrisaw, who's had some injury issues over the last few years. The defense, aggressive, relentless. I can't hate on that. That's fine. cool. It's just quarterback and running back. I kind of need to see you improve, especially the QB spot. I don't trust JJ McCarthy. I never really did, and we're seeing the results of this. It's just not working out for JJ. What do you do, though, if you're Minnesota? How do you go about fixing this situation? Tampa Bay. Mike Evans leaving? It's on the board, apparently, that Evans has played his final game as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. It's on the board that he will go and play somewhere else in a Hall of Fame career that I kind of wish wasn't anywhere else but in Tampa, to be honest. And it's feeling like Tampa Bay may try to turn the page to some degree. They've got some things to fix, the Bucs do, no question. And with Baker, I guess maybe it's a matter of his health. Can that be the one problem for Baker Mayfield? Maybe. It's on the board. And for Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles, what do you do now? How do you actually improve now? Can you improve? I need to see something from Bowles. Otherwise, this is another lost season. And we're going to stay in the NFC South for the rest of this tier and start with New Orleans. And they're the only team where I didn't change their 3 words or less from the end of the regular season. Worst to first. This is simple. Every year we get one. Every year we get a team that goes worst to first and wins their division, taking advantage of a last place schedule, taking advantage of a bunch of other stuff. This past year, New England did it. So, yeah, we can see that this is a real thing. And now, and Carolina too. Carolina also did this. And now I think this year my pick is going to be the Saints to do it. I think New Orleans is going to get their roster somewhat right and take advantage of a top 10 pick and potentially do other stuff to move on with this. Now, of course, the Saints and their cap space is always bad. They don't know how to get out of debt. They are $8.2 million over the cap, and they're actually not the worst, believe it or not. I just talked about the Vikings. They are the worst at $43 million and change over the cap, so they got work to do there. Kansas City's actually at $11.3 million over the cap, so they got work to do as well. But when it comes to the New Orleans team, they got some things to fix and fix ASAP for this prediction to come to fruition. New Orleans is generally good at balancing and getting under the cap, but they got some stuff to work on. Again, I like Tyler Shough. I like what they have there. Olave, if they can get him some receiver help, that would probably be good. He plays Rashid Shaheed, who was spectacular once he left New Orleans. And that defense, can you get younger? Maybe. If you can, I think you got a real shot. And honestly, in a pretty mediocre division, I think the Saints legitimately have a shot to make this happen. Atlanta, great and awful. Here's the great news for the Falcons all season thus far. Kevin Stefanski's a good coach. I think he needed to get out of Cleveland. I think he legitimately needed a fresh start. And Stefanski and his offensive abilities, in theory, he's going to be able to move with this real good assortment of talent on offense with Pitts, if he stays, and Drake London, and Mooney, and especially Bijan. In theory, they should be fine there. But then there's a couple of flies on the wall here, the elephants in the room. First, James Pierce. Is he even going to play this year after the chaos he just caused a couple weeks ago with the domestic issue and running the cops issue? Yeesh, that was brutal. That's an absolutely brutal turn of events for a guy that the Falcons gave up what turned out to be a very high draft pick to go get this past April. And now it's on the board. He gets the wheel of discipline and Goodell lays the hammer on him. That could be bad. What's also not great is that Michael Penix is not really A, developing, or B, staying healthy. He was an injury risk going into the NFL, and now he's coming off an ACL, and they're going to dump Kirk Cousins, as they probably should, to be honest. What do you do if you're the Falcons? You don't have a first-round pick, and you might not have Kyle Pitts. Do you dare drop the quarterback in round 2? If I'm Atlanta, I highly consider it. And the South champion Carolina Panthers. Credit for fighting, which is what you deserve. You deserve credit for fighting in the wild card game. You really do. You deserve credit for putting up way more of a battle with the Rams than I think anybody would have expected. Good. Now, what do you do with Bryce Young? Does he get fifth-year option? Does he get that, and do you move with him for 2 years? In theory, maybe you do, and you try to build a little bit more with him. I honestly probably do that. Your running back combination of Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle worked for a time. Okay, that's great. But what else can you do with this team? Can you get another pass rusher? I think you need to do that in the worst possible way. There's 3 or 4 that'll go early in the draft. Do you get bold and trade for one of them and trade up to get one? Maybe. Do you hope that the Giants or somebody release a pass rusher and go shopping in free agency? Maybe. I would highly consider that portion. If Trey Henderson becomes available, if I'm the Giants, if I'm the Panthers, I should say, I'm making a move to go get him because you need a high-end pass rusher in the worst way because you haven't replaced Brian Burns yet. I like the receiving core led by Ted McMillan. You've got something there, obviously, with the Rookie of the Year on the offensive side of the ball. Fix that offensive line, get you a pass rusher, and maybe a corner to go alongside J.C. Horn, and you've got something serious. And maybe a linebacker as well. And you got something real serious here. Carolina might not be done. It may just be getting started. We're going to go to Wilmington, Delaware for the playoff tier. And we're going to start with Dallas. Playoffs with defense. I'm very serious. Dallas wasted a really good offense with Dak and with Javonte Williams and Lamb and Pickens. Spectacular stuff. Ferguson as well. Good offensive line. They were moving. And then the defense was moving backwards usually. And DeRon Bland was usually giving up touchdowns. Rather unfortunate. Getting Quentin Williams was a good move. And it turned out to be a very sound, smart decision. You just need a pass rusher. And sure, trading for Max Crosby would work, but it also would acknowledge the mistake that you guys horribly made. Okay, I probably would rather not do that if I were them. I would probably just go out and get a pass rusher if I could help it. Now, the Cowboys' cap situation isn't great, and it's actually the second worst in the league. They're at $30.1 million in the red here. Only the Vikings, like I mentioned, are worse. I would probably try to fix that if I were Dallas, and they're going to have to, especially to afford the George Pickens franchise tag that he will inevitably get. If I'm Dallas, fixing the defense has to be top priority. Getting a pass rusher has to be the top of that top priority. If so, I need to get back to the playoffs, especially considering how dysfunctional the rest of this division is. Baltimore, early 90s Oilers. That's exactly what they have turned into. They are incredibly talented, in some cases the most talented team in football, and yet they can't find their way out. They can't find their way to the AFC Championship game enough, or in their case, they can't find their way to the Super Bowl. They make way too many mistakes, which is why the Harbaugh decision had to be made. I think they made the right decision there. I think with Jesse Minter, I think he's going to keep this going. I like Minter as a good hire for Baltimore. I think the defense is still going to be strong, although I do need to see Roquan Smith get back to what he once was, and for Kyle Hamilton to be healthy. What happens to Justin Matabuke? He didn't play this year, and does he return to being the really good defensive lineman that he was in years past? What happens with him? I need to see the answer to that. I would like to see the secondary improve as well, but Baltimore's got high enough pick, and they're great enough at drafting where this is probably going to happen inevitably. I'm okay with this. What happens with Lamar? Does he continue to get better here? And how does he improve? And what can he improve upon? Does he get back to a little bit more of the mobile Lamar that he has generally been? Questions need to be answered here. Pittsburgh, Mike to Mike. To go from Tomlin to McCarthy is kind of making a lateral move. To go from a very good defensive mind to a very good offensive one, it's kind of a lateral move. I don't love it. I am not a big fan of this. I don't think any Steeler is a huge fan of this, to be honest. And I think when it comes to Steelers, it feels like status quo. It feels like they're just going to be another 9-8 or 8-9 team. Maybe they win the division, maybe they don't. Aaron Rodgers, does he stay now? What does he do? What do you do, Aaron Rodgers? And if you're Pittsburgh, do you draft a QB? Do you go with Will Howard? What happens here with the Steelers? There's a lot to fix, and one of those main things may be that defense because it was way too expensive for the production it provided. Philadelphia, extremely critical offseason. Some things have already gone down, as we know. Kevin Bertullo is gone. He's going to be the QB coach again in Miami, not the play caller like Philadelphia seemed to think he was for stupid reasons. Anyway, he's going to be the QB coach there, and he won't be calling plays, as we should probably know by now. Also, Jeff Stoutland going is a huge deal. Stoutland going is a major, major move. And to be honest, for coaches, he might be worthy of Canton because of all this work that he's done over the decade plus as Eagles offensive line coach and getting 3 or 4 guys to the Hall of Fame. He might truly be worthy of Canton at this point in time, to be straight. Anyway, what happens here? And with Sirianni, now that he's taken some responsibilities away from Stalin before all this, and it feels like he's calling some plays more often because you hired a first-time play caller. What do you even do now? And where do the Eagles even go from here? Are the Eagles a team that's just going to flame out with a spectacularly talented roster? Lane Johnson's coming back cool. Vic Fangio's coming back fine. But this feels like the end of the road for both of them. Is this their last years as Philadelphia Eagles coaches and or players? Things I need to know about the Eagles. Detroit, is window closing? That's something I would need to know about this Lions team. And it feels like their best shot was a couple years ago in San Francisco when they had a 2-score lead and could have put the foot on the throat and opted not to. What happens with the Lions from here? And their play calling situation, did it really improve? One would argue that it didn't. And this health situation with the Lions, and can you improve upon that on defense? Because that's kind of necessary here, because they had a lot of personnel that went in and out, and it just did not work. The quarterback situation Jared Goff had was good, yet when he needed them the most, especially against the Vikings and especially against the Packers, it went nowhere fast. There are things that need to be done when it comes to the Lions. Can they do them? Green Bay, new staff, not even just coaching, everywhere. It feels like everybody went to Miami except for Mike LaFleur. It feels like everybody else went to South Beach to join the Dolphin staff, as the Packers pretty much have a brand new mode. Jonathan Gannon as defensive coordinator probably works, but I think you need high-end talent to make it work. And I think it's the only way it's going to work for this Packers, or for Gannon, to be honest, because I think that's the only way he really moves properly. What happens here when it comes to Green Bay and what feels like a make-or-break year for that entire crew? Yes, LaFleur got a new deal. Okay, understood. But what happens with the rest of them? How healthy will Micah Parsons be? And when does he get back on the field after tearing his ACL late in the year? What happens there? And can the Packers bring in more high-end talent for a roster that is good, but not elite or great in most places? What do you do here? LA Chargers, best coordinator hire. Mike McDaniel was a legitimately great decision. And as a fan of McDaniel, I love his play calling. Some of his decision-making isn't ideal. You've heard me say this a few times. I don't love some of the decision-making. I don't love some of the critical thinking. I don't, which is kind of weird considering you would think with his intelligence, that's a lot of his steel would be critical thinking. But some of it was lacking. Some of it just did not exist, which was really unfortunate. But I do like Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator and strictly an OC, where he can just focus on calling plays and things of that nature. I think he's great at that. And with the Chargers, I think he'll be really good at that. That offensive line's got to improve, and it's got to improve immediately for that to make sense, though. And it's not just a matter of getting your 2 tackles back. They're both great, and they both, I think, are going to help the cause tremendously. But it's the interior stuff. Can the interior improve immediately? If so, it may be good to go here. And I think this Chargers team is in play to truly become a serious threat if they're healthy. The key words, if they're healthy. And Jacksonville. Unfortunate ending. That's effectively what this was. An unfortunate ending to what was a really, really good season. It was a tremendous run down the stretch. Trevor Lawrence played well, and Parker Washington played well, and Etienne played well, and the defense was relentless. Everything about that was great until the very end of that season, which is unfortunate considering this was avoidable. All they had to do was not completely fall asleep in coverage to close out the year against Brandon Cooks. Anyway, this Jaguars team has got something. They've got something real talented. They just have to fine-tune it a little bit more, and I think they'll be good to go here. And when it comes to Jacksonville, sure, they won't have their first-round pick because of Travis Hunter, but they get Travis Hunter back, and that will also help matters. Brian Thomas, though, I guess that's the big question I have with him. Does he improve and get back to what he was in year 1, or is he what he is at this point of year 2? Does he just not fit with Trevor Lawrence? I guess that's a question I will need answered. And he's even a Jaguar. The Jaguars will flip him to get other picks. I guess that's something we'll need to know here. And now we're going to Moynihan and New York City for the title team. Houston, only because defense. That is literally the only reason why you're here. This defense was so good. Without a couple of these guys on defense, the Texans are probably in fork in the road tier and nowhere near the playoffs, to be honest. This defense is that great. And with Will Anderson and Stingley and Lassiter and Hunter and all these pieces on this defensive unit, they legitimately have 3 or 4 guys that could be all pros and or defensive players of the year at any given year at this moment in time, with a relentless coach in D'Amico Ryans. But please fix that offense. And maybe some of that's health. Maybe some of that is a mix of, okay, Nico Collins could come back. And maybe some of that is a mix of, okay, Tank Dell might be back at some point. They could get the receiver core right. Although Higgins, I think, could be something. And their tight end's okay. Dalton Schultz, I think, is fine. That running game needs to be figured out. Unless Woody Marks is going to continue to improve. That could also be a thing. But the thing most importantly, and most of all that needs to be fixed, this offensive line. Please fix it. If you have to spend the first 3 picks on your offensive line in this draft, do it, Houston. It's totally worth it. It's the only way C.J. Stroud may survive and get back to what he was in year 1. Well, that and good play calling. San Francisco, healthy without Kittle. That's the modus operandi. That is the goal ideally for this season. Get all your guys back. Get Bosa back. Get Warner back. Get your offensive line healthy and ready to roll. What are you going to do with Brandon Ayuk? Well, you're probably releasing Brandon Ayuk and or trading him. Okay, cool, fine. All right, you need to do that. But what do you do to replace Kittle, the best player on your offense, not named CMC? He's irreplaceable mostly. And Tonjes, I think, did a decent job at tight end, sure. But how long can he keep that going? I guess that's something I'll need to see the answer to. A healthy Niner team should be legitimately good. And replacing Robert Saleh won't be easy. But again, a healthy Niner team with good play calling on both sides generally works. I just wonder how much longer the window will be. New England, all-time opportunists. Yes, this was the weakest schedule in 25 years, and it got to the Super Bowl with it. Congratulations. You were able to hunt and able to feast off of everybody else's mistakes until you faced the team that didn't make it. Until you faced the team that was at full strength and was fully capable of punishing you for whatever mistakes that you made. Yep, that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. You were never beating Seattle, not with the way that everything was going, as long as Seattle didn't crash the car. Narrator, they didn't. When it comes to the Patriots now, it's, your schedule's 10 times harder, and not only is your schedule 10 times harder, you now have a first-place schedule as opposed to a last-place one. Yeah. Now you got to move as the hunted once again. Can you improve the talent on this roster? You would think so. They have the quarterback, sure. They have the defense, yeah. But you got to improve the talent on the roster otherwise. If you can, maybe it won't be as fraudulent as you were this year. Buffalo, wasted opportunity. Yeah, that's where I am with Buffalo. And I'm not going to go as hard as I did on them during the divisional round. But when it comes to Buffalo, yikes, it was rough. It was a very rough way to the season to end. And it's your own fault, by the way. It definitely is your own fault. I stand on that. But when it comes to Buffalo this time, and where Buffalo is right now, Joe Brady's your head coach? I would have expected that from another team. I would have been okay with it for another team. But for this team, I understand why you're doing it. It's simply because, okay, this offense still worked. This offense still clicked. And Brady was a good reason for it. Okay, understood. You're going to get a number 1 receiver, right? You're trading for A.J. Brown or Brandon Ayuk or pie in the sky move to go get another number 1 receiver, maybe a Brian Thomas. Are you guys the actual favorites for Tyreek Hill? Like what do you do here? How do you figure this out, getting a number 1 receiver? You need one in the worst way. Stop doing this. Stop trying to put Band-Aids on this. You need a number 1 receiver. Don't waste any more time on Josh Allen's career. Get you a number 1, see what you got. And there is one fly in the ointment, though. Buffalo has the 4th worst cap space in the NFL at $12.3 million over the cap. Jacksonville, for reference, is actually 3rd worst at $13.2. But when it comes to Buffalo, they're going to have to fix this. There'll probably be a restructure or two when it comes to Josh Allen or maybe Deion Dawkins or some other people. It may get to a restructuring at some point. But the point is, they need to figure this out and figure it out fast because the clock's ticking on Josh Allen's time. And after this year, your cap room doesn't get much better. It actually gets a whole lot worse. Chicago, not like this. I understood you guys moving away from Soldier Field. I got that. Okay, fine. I can live with and tolerate that situation. My problem here is you're moving to somewhere in Indiana? Really? That's what we're doing here? You're not going to Arlington Heights? You're not going to suburban Chicago in the Chicagoland? I would have understood that. I don't love it because I think Soldier Field works schematically. I think Soldier Field works in terms of where everything is in Chicago. I think that works perfectly fine. I'm perfectly okay with this. But you're really going to do that? Yeah, that's where we're going here? That is gross. It really, really gross. I don't love this in the least bit at all when it comes to what the Bears are doing. I love a lot about this Chicago season. Caleb Williams emerging in year 2. Romadunji looking great. The offense as a whole humming, and 2 really good running backs. A devastating thunder and lightning mix in terms of the running game. Ben Johnson being really good, and this offensive line coming together. Love all of that, and opportunistic defense. And even though it didn't really force the turnovers in the playoffs, they held their own at different points. You got to fix that defense to some degree. But I loved a lot of this. I just hate what they're about to do in moving out of Chicago and moving into Indiana. The Indiana Bears? That's what we're doing here? Really? I guess. Wow. Okay, cool. Denver, healthy Bo Nix. I firmly believe the Broncos are in the Super Bowl and getting beat by Seattle if Bo Nix is healthy. I really do. How do we know this? Let's face it. New England didn't do anything. They only scored because Jared Stidham made a very stupid mistake and Sean Payton left 3 points on the field. That's the only reason why it wasn't 10-0 and only reasons why it wasn't 10-0 and maybe even, I guess, 10-3 because New England did get 3 in the snow. Sure, I guess. Cool. But in any event, this was a spectacular season for Denver for the most part. They actually figured it out on defense, and defense was in that S-tier version of its production. Bo Nix came along pretty strong in year 2. The run game can be a little bit better, though RJ Harvey wasn't bad. And I think Denver, with J.K. Dobbins back, would also be very solid and very efficient in that realm. Could Denver use a number 1 receiver? Maybe. I like Marvin Mims. I like Cortland Sutton. They're kind of in that Colts flow of receivers. Kind of that maybe great high-end 2s and as opposed to low-end 1s, I think what Sutton is. Even though paying Sutton wasn't a terrible decision, it's just the simple fact that I don't really consider them as high-end 1s or getting closer to high-end 1s. Maybe a better receiver would work out there. Anyway, I like what the Broncos are becoming. I like what the Broncos were this past season. A little bit more fine-tuning, a little bit more roster adjustment, and Denver's going to be back here. And Denver's absolutely going to be back in title picture and Super Bowl contention. LA Rams, true runner-up. That was the Super Bowl. The NFC Championship absolutely was the Super Bowl to me. I think to a lot of people, that was Super Bowl 60, to be honest. They played 3 great games with Seattle, and they all came down to the last drive. And obviously, Seattle winning 2 of them got them the title. Understood. For the Rams, it's fairly simple. They still have a window as long as Matt Stafford's there. They may need to draft his heir apparent, but as long as Stafford's there, they've got a shot. And with that defense coming along strong, and Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams, and Devontae Adams, and a real good group of tight ends, because that tight end group is nasty, the Rams are going to have a shot as they continue to get closer and closer to their second Lombardi with McVay and 3rd appearance overall in the Super Bowl. They can absolutely get back there. They're going to have to deal with a murderer's row division and the Cardinals, but they can absolutely get back there. Speaking of the heads of that division and the head of the table in the NFL, Seattle, new Jim Plunkett. That is the arc that Sam Darnold just completed. He is this decade, this era's version of Jim Plunkett. Plunkett had a terrible start to his career. It was mostly terrible. He was labeled as a bust, as a high-end draft pick. And then he came along strong, getting towards Super Bowl 15, winning Super Bowl MVP, and having a decent amount of success after said Super Bowl until he got old and became cooked. That's kind of what Darnold is. Awful as a Jet, okay as a Panther, very good as a Viking for a year, and then very good as in Seattle for back-to-back 14-win teams on seasons on 2 different teams. Can't deny that. And yes, the defense and Kenneth Walker did their parts, and JSN was an absolute monster, no question. But Darnold did his part very well. When he wasn't turning over the ball, Darnold played a very good, efficient ball and didn't make the stupid mistakes that we're so used to him making. He maybe has turned a new corner and turned a new leaf, and maybe this is who Sam Darnold will be now. Maybe we can put to bed those ghosts that he saw. He busted them. Good job. Hey, good job, Seattle, on winning a title and making amends for what Super Bowl 49 was. You should have 3 rings instead of 2, but you got your lick back against New England with interest. Good work. And there you have it. These are my power rankings to end 2025 and kind of sort of start 2026 in terms of the season. There will be more than likely one more in the summertime when it comes to the NFL portion of these power rankings. But coming up next on this channel, Dolphins, Miami, Mock Mondays, Volume 5 coming up this week, obviously on Monday. Will I have a new draft, and who will be in it, to be honest? Who will I take now that we have more information? And obviously, the more news may come between now and then, and what happens with the replacing of Tyreek and Bradley Chubb. Although Miami is going to draft an edge rusher anyway, more than likely. Anyway, NBA Power Rankings. They will come up this week as we actually have NBA games. Hockey will be back this week, obviously, but I'm not doing NHL Power Rankings until we get more games on the slate. So, NHL Power Rankings coming back first weekend of March. But Miami Mock Monday will be the first stop of my next train of thought.